Oh, that's 5 instead of 6.
Greg not coming?
I don't know, there were 6 on here.
Not coming.
So 6.
6 is turned up higher than all the others because it's all proposed.
This is 6 now.
Is it better?
It seems.
We're not having to be done?
Well, that one's up.
Check. Yeah. That's not feedback, please. Oh,
Okay, I turned it all
Kind
down.
of like a, saying no.
yeah, we could maybe get,
Party kind of comes up.
the way I see it is
Okay, we good to go?
2 or 3 hours,
Okay.
just something small.
Meeting is called to order for May 28th, 2024 at 7:01 PM. May I get roll call?
Mayor Candace Machado,
Here.
Councilmember Deja Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Glenn West, they asked to be excused tonight. Councilmember Phil Burton.
Here.
Councilmember Amanda Vito.
Here.
Town Attorney Scott Murray.
Here.
Town Engineer Shane Porter.
Here.
Chief of Police Mike Thompson. Fire Chief Leo Lawson.
Here.
Public Works Director Robert Llewellyn.
Here.
Town Clerk Janelle Edwin Weston citizens.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, approval of agenda. Do I have an approval of agenda?
I'll motion.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Approval of agenda, motion passes. Consent agenda, approval of minutes for regular and executive session meeting May 13th, 2024 and May 20th, 2024 work session. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Line item 2, public comment, local assessment district 2024-01.
I might just start off with just a couple points of clarification, and then you can open it up to public comments. I just wanted to clarify a couple things from the last meeting. So the certified mail return receipts, the signature cards, I emailed those all out to you guys last week. So you should have had a chance to take a look at those. There were some questions on those. I also included in my packet the conceptual drawings that we put together to develop the cost estimate. It was brought up last time about the asphalt that was recently installed and paid for by some of the property owners. And I just wanted to clarify that at this point in our estimate, we're not planning to tear that asphalt up. We included a 2-inch overlay in the cost estimate over that existing asphalt just to provide adequate thickness for the truck traffic. We haven't evaluated done the actual design work to evaluate the subgrade or the base or the asphalt, but we did estimate a 2-inch overlay. So we weren't tearing that out or not planning to at this point. So just to reiterate again, the purpose of the project is to bring the roads up to town standards to make sure that the roads are built to the specifications needed to hold the heavy truck traffic. So kind of the whole point of the project is to get the roads up to specifications, the town take over ownership and maintenance, but the town isn't going to take over ownership and maintenance unless the roads are up to the standards. So that's the goal. So if the project moves forward, the part of the design will be to evaluate the existing pavement, the base and the subgrade and determine what improvements, the final improvements that are necessary to ensure that the roads are in the condition acceptable for the town to take over ownership and maintenance. So that's just a couple points of clarification, and I'll answer any other questions that come up. So.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Public comments, are there public comments this evening? If you could go ahead and come up to the podium and state who you are and who you're with.
Good evening, my name is Jeremy Foote, I'm with Halliburton Energy Services located at 6900 Nugget. I was asked to convey to the council tonight that the duration of time given to respond to the certified letter sent to the landowners in that area concerning the formation of the local land assessment district was insufficient for a response from Halliburton. Should Halliburton have had enough time to respond, the response would have been to object to his creation. Halliburton asks that the council take these comments into consideration as it takes its next steps. That's it. Thank you.
So in terms of the insufficient response time, Mr. Porter, can you give me some context to that?
So Scott may be able to help out here a little bit, but we had, per the state statutes, you're required 15 days from the time of notification till the time to the objection notice. So that 15 days is set in statute. It's kind of a unique circumstances with Halliburton where their address, you're supposed to use the address that's in the assessor, the county assessor's list. Their address is an address in Duncan, Oklahoma. I didn't look at when they received it, but the notification in the paper was definitely 15 days before, and we sent those mailings out 3 or 4 days prior to that. So, state statutes were followed in the notification process. It is, with this Halliburton kind of unique, and it did have to go to Oklahoma, and I don't know where else beyond that to get to the people that needed to see it or whatever. I don't know.
There's no date on
On the signature card.
On the signature card.
You can still look it up based on
We can look the tracking.
tracking number, yeah, but I don't really have anything else to add to Mr. Porter's comments. I think that the state statutes are very specific in what they require, and we have to follow those, and I believe that they were followed here, so.
Additional public comments, sir? Come on up. Can you state who you are and who you're with?
Tim Coleman with myself. Be that as it may, there are now more than 50% of the people against the project, and I get the state statute thing. I got my response in on time. I wasn't served properly, didn't sign the thing. We haven't seen how that actually happened, but I think this whole thing needs a more discussed approach among the residents of the industrial park, and not to have a tax shoved down our throat by the town of Evansville. So I'm still a no, and
Mr. Coleman, I have a question for you. You said that 50% of the folks out there are against this moving forward. Do you have names of all these 50% of people who are against this? Or do you have record of who would be actually in that pool of people? So that I have understanding of,
so we did the math on a
These people are-
calculator. Halliburton is the key to getting the rest of us over 50%, which is the New Millers, myself, Blakeman Propane. And I don't know of other responses. I did talk to one other person who didn't care, so
Did you say Blakeman?
propane. They stated to me that they had sent in a no response, but that last meeting, you hadn't received it, so I don't know where that is. It's probably where my last mortgage payment is, lost in the mail. There's, we're no longer sending our sales tax returns through the mail. We didn't get one of our discounts recently, and our contact at the state said the mail service is so bad now that they lose dozens and dozens of checks every month. So they're encouraging everybody to do things online, and such as the post-COVID mail service.
okay, thank you.
Tiffany Gamble with Hat 6 Travel Center and Doris McMurray Properties. I just want to, I guess, reiterate that we've had multiple meetings and we feel that this is the best route forward for trying to get participation and fair participation from all the landowners out there that provides a long-term solution, which is annexing the road into the town. Otherwise, open to other suggestions, but so far not aware of anything that can get us to move forward for the long-term solution. So thank you very much for your consideration tonight. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Lori Osmond, and I work for Sunshine Valley Petroleum, and I just wanted to let you guys know we never did receive any information on this.
I got them returned in the mail last week, got address checks with the county assessors.
See, that's the problem with our mail these days. We have a lot of this going on. Thank you.
Well, I am Joanne Newmiller, so I was kind of curious why I didn't get any notification, but now I see that
I
you
just
got it back
I got them all 3 last week.
last week, so
The indication, we checked the tracking number and there was, I don't know how it stated it exactly, but there was a remind, I think they must put something in the PO box that says you gotta come up and sign for the mail. And the tracking said it was in there a couple of times and another reminder, and then it says return to sender, so I don't know.
I pick up the mail every week and sign forms, so I don't know.
I don't know either.
little bit of a discrepancy, I guess. So I would like to know what the word maintenance means to you on maintaining the new road that you're going to propose to be put in at the Hat 6 Industrial Park.
So I guess it just depends. I mean, typically when you design a road like that, you expect a 30-year lifespan, but that 30-year lifespan is taking into account maintenance throughout that 30 years. So the maintenance will be, if a pothole develops, then they'll have to, it could be repairing the pothole. It could be, cracks will develop in asphalt and concrete. The cracks have to be sealed routinely. I don't know about snow removal and that kind of stuff. We haven't even discussed it. But maintenance would be general upkeep on the road to make sure it lasts a 30-year lifespan before it's due for replacement.
So 2nd Street right out here, what is your maintenance plan for 2nd Street within the town of Evansville?
Robert, I don't know.
It's been some potholes out there for 6 years that have not been addressed. I'm thinking if the big trucks are making some potholes out in the industrial park, maybe 6 years isn't appropriate for a time for those potholes to be addressed. I also wonder if you're going to address the issue at the corner of where Nugget turns south down kind of near our entrance with the radius of the trucks turning that corner now that the Hat 6 truck stop has built another facility back toward the interstate down there, and they're rerouting the traffic back down on that corner. There's a fire hydrant very close to the corner. Some of the semi tires have done some great damage at that corner and have bent some of the concrete barriers that protect that fire hydrant. I don't know if any of you have even driven down there or looked at it or visualized what might happen at that corner?
I have actually been down there
Okay, do you
twice.
do you agree that it
And I think,
presents some problem?
my understanding is that all those things will be addressed and that's part of the project. That's my understanding.
Okay,
So I would like to get us back on track because I feel like we are starting to veer off into a discussion that's not specifically relevant to this section. What exactly are you proposing, ma'am? Because that's not being clear to
not
me.
developing this assessment.
Okay,
Okay.
I just needed clarity on
Okay.
that because I felt like we were
another
moving in a
thing I
different
would like to
direction.
address with I don't know if it's the police department that kind of looks at the traffic that's going on that road and whether they like to see whether people are actually stopping at stop signs.
First of all, because it's a private road, We have no
Nothing.
jurisdiction to
Okay.
enforce anything out there,
Okay,
unless you do a
so you
specific,
will be doing it if there is an assessment.
unless you do currently as it is, because it's a private road, unless there's a MOU signed by the landowners for the police to do enforcements, is the only way we go out there. So we'll handle accidents, obviously, but if you have problems with speeders, you have people doing burnouts, I'm gonna say, sorry, it's a private road.
It's not so much the burnouts, it's not so much the speeders, it's the stop sign runners by the trucks. Because I drive that road with great caution and much fear.
Unless you do an MOU,
Okay, so an MOU would be something that we could initiate,
if all the landowners as a whole want to.
or more than 50%.
It's gonna take
Perhaps.
landowners as a
But
whole.
I think you're gonna have to seek your own legal advice when it comes to that, otherwise you're asking the
And
police
you
chief.
wouldn't have any participation in that.
Would I?
Right.
Not at this point, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Ma'am,
Negative.
ma'am, do you have a solution for us? I mean, you're against it, but would you have a solution on your end of what you'd like to see happen?
The one thing I would like to see with the stop signs is maybe some flashing lights at those, because the truckers quite obviously look towards the truck stop to see if any traffic is coming from that way, which is the west from that far end stop sign. They look left. Very seldom do they look right, where our offices are, Blakeman's office, a few others that are down there that may not be using that road as much as we do. They see nothing coming from the left, just pour it out. So it's kind of fearful.
Okay.
In my humble opinion.
Absolutely.
Makes your heart beat better. So negative, thank you very much.
Thank you. To the gentleman and the lady that had come up, would you guys want to offer some additional solutions to going against this idea? Are there any other solutions that we haven't heard of up to this point to give everybody to have an opportunity to share any proposed solutions that you might have so that the council does get to hear this? Because although I'm hearing everybody say they're against it, I mean, I also haven't heard anybody, except for this lovely woman right here, give a solution regarding what could be alternatives here.
So I don't really have a solution so much as some of the issues that we've discussed during our internal discussions with this were we're unclear of if the roadway widens. We're unclear if they had fire hydrants to, for instance, our side of the street, there are no fire hydrants. If it does increase the road width, where does that come from? Who loses the property? There's some stuff like that we're uncertain about, that we just don't know the answers to. And I think that's probably one of the bigger problems that we're faced with at this point, is there's just too much uncertainty. And in the discussion today, we discussed about, is the asphalt going to be sufficient? Of course, he touched on that. Is concrete a good option? Are we looking at higher costs? I think one of the problems that we were concerned with, and it's kind of been answered a little bit, I think, was why are we paving payload? Can that road be maintained with better surface material and maybe a blade 3 or 4 times a year or something along those lines? Those are just questions that we have at this point, that we're unable to move forward with this in any way, as far as saying yes, we're on board with it, because we just don't know all these different variables. If some of that could be answered, then maybe we could have a different answer. But at this point, we wouldn't be willing to go forward with voting yes. So
Can I ask you a quick question?
sure.
Being an old oil field guy, I know how big Halliburton is, and you got different layers and stuff. Are you speaking for the right layer that makes these decisions? And I'm just asking because I don't know.
Yeah, so just briefly, we had a meeting this morning with folks from Denver and Houston and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So they're maybe not 100% all the right people, but there's enough. once some of these things have been answered, then we can reevaluate where we
Okay.
stand. But yes, as far as the levels of people in the discussions, they were the right ones.
So basically, it wasn't just a local decision, it
No,
went
it
up the
wasn't,
ladder?
no, like I
Okay.
said, we had several people, some of our real estate, some of our management, so on and so forth in the call. So it wasn't like we was just talking about it here locally.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any other solutions for public comments or thoughts?
Just the one unpopular one about using our already spent property taxes to do part of this instead of assessing us over the top again. So, it seems like the annexation of the industrial park for the town of Evansville, the benefit for you is you get that portion of the property taxes that come to you. And our benefit is nothing yet. So that money's been spent elsewhere, I assume, from what I know. But it's got to be substantial, and maybe it could be done incrementally over a period of several years. The choke point is the truck stop. That's, to me, that would be the highest priority right off the exit there. And then once it gets down to the corner of that fence, then things get a lot less busy. But I've gone down that dirt road for 25 years now, and I could do 25 more rather than spend the money. But I'm not trying to be a stick in the mud. I'll, do what makes sense.
So what I heard you say was that you're not really sure what the benefits would be specifically to you and the other folks that are out there.
Well, I know what the benefits of a road are.
Yeah.
I would like to see the town use our tax money that we've spent toward the road, where we're not paying 100% of it. We paid 100% of the water line improvement. Under what arrangement, I don't remember, but I don't want to get assessed for the road and then a couple of years later get assessed for something else and just on and on and on. So the economy's not that good yet.
So there's also concern for you for future things that could or could not potentially happen as well, in terms of what could happen later down the line.
Yeah, I'm not terrible. I trust that the city, once the roads were completed, would do a decent job of, there's just what we do there as maintenance at the moment. Andreen bladed the dirt section a few weeks ago, and spent a few hours doing it, and it cleans up nice and easy, but it needs done, several times a year or a dozen times a year if it rains all the time. So, but it's that's a lot less expensive than paving a road. So, and I've had my people grade it in the past, so we've taken that on ourselves. And the snow thing, it's kind of been an on your own thing. So not too concerned about the maintenance, but just the upfront initial cost, and do we have to bear the whole load?
Do you have the same thoughts that the gentleman from Halliburton has, that if you guys were aware of the certainties, that if there weren't as many uncertainties, that you would consider going that direction?
Yes, that would help. I'm not sure what you do. There's two pipelines running on Halliburton's side of the road. over the hill and down through some sagebrush I have. But I don't know what you're allowed to do over those pipelines. I think one's oil and one's gas. So that's a thing. And it looks like you almost need a guardrail on Halliburton's side to keep, and maybe around that corner to keep the big trucks from diving into that, making that the worst potholes again and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of things, but and I'm glad that you don't want to tear up the road that they just paid for, because that would be a tragedy. I'm glad I didn't pay for that road already. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
Don't you think that having a paved road that's well maintained I know that Halliburton has a large amount of employees that go there, as well as the people that get on the bus and the other parking lot. Don't you think that it'd be better on your employees' vehicles, because that one pothole that is always horrible wouldn't consist there, because it would be a hard surface? Don't you think that'd be better for your employees, as well as if you guys have any trucks that come in and out on there's a one particular, it's where the big pothole always is in the road. It's like when I think they're coming out of the back lot. And it's always on that turn. That's where that pothole always is. And I think that if you guys have a hard surface there, then you wouldn't have to have someone out there grading it constantly. I know that there's been several times that Tiffany's had her people out there grading it as well. And all of you guys kind of share that burden and that load, having a better maintained property. And I know that Halliburton has large equipment that comes in and out, as well as those travel buses. It would just be less maintenance on all of y'all overall. Do you not think that it would be a good?
Yeah, I hate that pothole. I've hit it many times.
I dodge it, yeah.
Well, sometimes if there's an oncoming truck,
I slow down
you
and wait.
can't, that is
Let Tiffany go. Oh, sorry.
that is a forever pothole.
It's a bad one.
I sort of spoke of it last time too, but after hearing some additional comments, I just want to say that I would commit to doing work sessions, even if it was me leading it or however that works, to make sure that we address all the concerns. I know every property owner probably has something different that happens at their area. So if this proceeds, I would definitely commit to taking charge on that.
It's Joanne again. That was a hard surface.
It was?
Oh, yes.
When?
It's the turn radius of those front tires on those diesels that grind it up. And if it's just an asphalt road, it's gonna be back.
But the good news is that then the town would maintain that.
Who's paying for it?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question. However, I know that there are many great people up here, i.e. Mayor Machado, who could help me with that.
Sort of sounds like we're all paying for it. And then maybe the maintenance, but that is a consideration when you're designing it. Don't just put some asphalt there.
Oh, I agree.
But after the MOD,
That was a hard surface originally.
Wow.
And the roughest part of the road is from that stop sign where that pothole is to where the decent concrete is at the end or the stop sign getting onto Hassex Road.
Well, I
The
think
worst
that
part
if
is that section of the road.
sorry, I'm sorry to cut you off. I think that if it was per se in the LAD, then it probably wouldn't. After time, you know what I mean? I don't think that it would be on the owners, because then it'd be part of that. It would be part of the
Okay.
LAD. So it wouldn't be let's say it's
That's
fixed and
part of
maintained.
the maintenance that I referred to earlier.
But I don't believe would be on you guys, because that road would be
Correct. I
annexed to the
understand.
town.
I understand.
Okay.
That's why I asked the question about maintenance and how long it's gonna take to do maintenance out there, as opposed to,
Right.
I've been driving this out here for 6 years and nothing's been done for it. So that's what precipitated my comment about that.
The only thing I will tell you is I know that we do have a pothole website. If you do notice something, you can shoot an email and say, hey, there's a big pothole on blah, blah, blah. But I will tell you, after being in construction myself, if the temperature is not above a certain level, it does no point to put anything in there because it's not going to take. And so you're still in the same predicament you're in with that cost.
I agree with you 100%.
But I will say they will be starting to fix, the temperature is holding, so they will start to fix things.
Okay. The other question is, I didn't get to ask this question earlier. Are you going to have curbs and gutters and sidewalks?
Not at this point. We did not plan on budget for curb and gutter.
So you're just asphalt to grass.
Tapered
Asphalt
asphalt
to grass.
taper. Yep.
So
It's-
somebody wants to drive on the grass, that's okay. They can just drive on the grass and get some more stuff out there as far as turn radius. I'm more concerned about that 90-degree corner clear down at the east end.
And we can look at that. Like I said, we just
'Cause
haven't got
that's
into design
Both
yet. but-
directions, that's my grass.
Yep, and we would look at that. I'd have to see what we have for available right of way, what is the platted right of way width in there, and what turning radius we can make. And if we have to move a hydrant, we'll move a hydrant to make it work, but it's all still
The other question is,
preliminary.
if you're not going to do anything but add 2 inches of asphalt on the top of the existing new road, there is an issue with the bus lot that is leased out to the bus companies. That's a big pothole in and of itself. If that is not addressed by the owner and it's not addressed by you, it's gonna just continue to be a big issue.
Are you talking about the approach that comes up onto that?
Yeah.
That's, I'm just trying
From
to
the
figure.
dirt lot onto
Right.
the asphalt. That's,
We would include the approaches that are within the right of way would be included with the project from beyond the right of way on the private property, that would not be included.
Would be on
But
the
the
owner.
approaches would be part of the design.
okay, thank you.
And,
Thank you.
and ma'am, just because you're standing up here, Ms. Gamble had said that she'd be willing to do work sessions with anyone in the audience, anybody that's out
Oh,
there.
yeah, we've worked with her before.
Would you be open to
Oh, yeah,
doing
we've
future
worked
work
with her before.
sessions in the event that was an option?
If we have to go that far,
Okay,
I'll come and put my 2 cents in.
okay.
Thank
Thank you. And anybody else that had already came up and spoke, would you be willing to go into future work sessions in the event that we went that direction? Would you take Ms. Gamble up on her offer to do future work sessions? To be a part of the discussion?
I think we'd be willing to, yes.
Okay, so Halliburton said yes, okay.
I'd have to probably get some more approvals on that, but
Yeah,
well, yes.
speaking for the company, yes. Okay. Thank you.
I have a question for Scott. So legally, where are we right now? I mean,
Legally, we're at the
Second
second reading.
we're at the second reading, we've done our duty, is that correct?
Right, I mean, the statutory framework has been followed, notices were sent out and notice was published. So now it's just an ordinance essentially that's at second reading.
Okay. Any other public comments? Public comments? Last call for public comments. Okay. Public comments are closed for the local assessment district 2024-01. All right, line item 3, ordinance number 4-2024, creation of local assessment district number 2024-01 on the second reading.
Madam Mayor, council brought before you tonight is ordinance number 4-2024. This is an ordinance ratifying all actions previously taken concerning Town of Evansville, Wyoming, local assessment district 2024-01, confirming the proceedings, ordering the construction of improvements therein, describing the improvements, directing town engineer to prepare plans and specifications, and fixing boundaries of the assessment district, providing for the publication of notice to contractors, ratifying action previously taken, and prescribing details in connection with said district, brought before you tonight on second reading.
Any discussion?
Just a quick comment. Kind of is what I'm hearing tonight, is everybody's kind of got different concerns about different corners, how things are are going to be, and I think maybe we can do a little something with the communication part of that. The other problem that I see is the real problem is the cost. Well, if we start adding things like moving fire hydrants over the other side of the street, of putting wider turns in, of putting curbs and gutters and sidewalks and stuff in, that's just gonna increase the cost. So, I mean, I think those, and I understand, and I guess I'm a big believer in doing things correctly the first time so that we don't end up with these situations. And I agree with the conversations about making sure that the road will stand up to the traffic. Okay, but I think we need to keep those things in mind in those discussions, that every time we add something, it adds something to the cost. So, and it's a tough situation to be in. And I understand the concerns from everybody. That's.
So when it comes to payment for these people that are having to make payments, is it like one lump sum? Is it a monthly payment? How does that work out? Is it over so many years?
That's done through the treasurer. So once the assessment's made, then it goes through the assessor's office to the treasurer. It's not like one upfront lump sum. The assessment's broken up, and I'm not sure if you're familiar.
Yeah, so the way we've set it up, and I believe it's actually in the ordinance that way, is it can be paid as one lump sum up front if so chosen, or it can be made in 1 year annual payments over 10 years. I don't know if there's an option to do it monthly. It could be something that could be done if that helped. But I think it's easy, the town will be sending an invoice at the end of each year. And so some of that reason for the 1 year was so that the town didn't have to do the monthly invoicing, but I think they could if that was something the town wanted to do.
And what happens if they're just like, no, I'm not doing it?
Well, obviously it become a legal issue. It's an ordinance that is passed. I think that if they didn't pay, the town would file a lien on the property. And then I don't think it's a mechanic's lien where they can go get that money. It would just be a lien on it. And once that property's sold now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, the town would have right to that payment from the lien, I believe is the process.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Okay. Now I have to do a motion, right?
Yeah, I need a motion.
Do I have a
I'll
motion?
it. Oh, go ahead.
Do I have a motion for ordinance number 4-2024, creation of local assessment district number 2024-01? Do I have
A
a
motion.
Do I have a second motion to move this forward?
Call motion. Or second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Number 4, ordinance number 5-2024, amendment of fiscal year 2023-2024 budget, first reading.
Madam Mayor, Council, brought before you tonight is ordinance 5-2024. This is an ordinance providing for the amendment of the annual budget for the town of Evansville, Wyoming from July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. Whereas the town council has adopted the ordinance providing for such amendment, and whereas the town council believes such an amendment is necessary to reflect unanticipated revenues and expenditures, to increase and decrease departmental expenditures, and to correct errors and omissions. Be it further ordained by the governing body of the town of Wyoming as follows. Section 1, the following sums of money are anticipated as revenue for the general fund, enterprise fund, capital improvement fund, debt service, and trust agency fund, June 30th, 2024. General fund, the grand total is $9,345,983. Enterprise fund, grand total $4,185,068. Capital improvement fund, grand total $2,729,968. Section 2, there is hereby appropriated for expenditures from the general fund. Grand total is $4,788,247. Section 3, there is hereby appropriated for expenditures from the enterprise fund. Grand total is $1,600,964. Section 4, there is hereby appropriated for expenditures from the capital improvement fund. Grand total is $1,335,730. Brought before you tonight on first reading.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 5-2024 amendment of fiscal year 2023-2024 budget on first reading? Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, line item 5, ordinance number 6-2024 fiscal year 2024 to 2025 budget on the first reading.
Madam Mayor, Council, brought before you tonight is ordinance 6-2024. This is an ordinance appropriating amount of money necessary to defray all expenses and liabilities of the town of Evansville for fiscal year July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Be it ordained by the governing body of the town of Evansville, Wyoming as follows. Section 1, the following sums of money are anticipated as revenue for the general fund, capital improvement fund, debt service fund, and trust agency fund, June 30th, 2025. The grand total is $9,892,261. Enterprise fund is $4,579,868. Capital improvement fund grand total is $2,167,978. Section 2, there is hereby appropriated for expenditures from the general fund. The grand total is $5,096,827. Section 3, there is hereby appropriated for expenditures from the enterprise fund. Grand total is $1,657,052. Section 4, there is hereby appropriated for expenditures from the capital improvement fund or capital fund, $266,571. Brought before you tonight on first reading.
Discussion? Do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 6-2024 fiscal year budget on the first reading?
I move.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Budget passes. All right, line item 6, ordinance number 7-2024, an ordinance prohibiting fireworks within the town of Evansville, first reading.
Madam Mayor, Council, brought before you tonight is ordinance 7-2024. This is an ordinance prohibiting fireworks within the town of Evansville, Wyoming. It's brought before you tonight on first reading. This is an ordinance that Chief of Police Mike Thompson has asked that be added back into the Evansville Municipal Code Book. It's something that had been omitted a couple of years ago when they was updating the Municipal Code Book, and it's brought before you tonight on first reading.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Do I have a motion to approve an ordinance prohibiting fireworks within the town of Evansville on first reading?
All motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Line item 7, approval of Spectrum Pacific West franchise agreement extension.
Madam Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is the franchise extension agreement that is brought to you by Spectrum Pacific West LLC, also known as CenturyLink. All they're asking for is that we just extend the current franchise agreement that expires June 1 of 2024. The franchise fee amount remains the same, and the only addition is that they have added an additional Section 17 to be added to the franchise agreement that has compliance with the laws, and it's brought before you tonight for approval.
Any discussion? All right, do I have a motion to approve of the Spectrum Pacific West franchise agreement extension?
I move.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Engineers report.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. I have a couple more things to report tonight. You should have a copy of my engineer's report in your packet, but wanted to bring up a couple of things. So the Mesa, we talked here several months ago about the Mesa Mesa Solutions has a project on the far east end of town. We talked about a Wyoming Business Council grant application to do a lot of the infrastructure improvements around that development. So we've had several meetings over the last couple of months and finally have reached a direction between the developer, Mesa Solutions, the Wyoming Business Council, and discussions with the town on how to proceed with that grant application. The grant application is originally they were telling us it was a 10% match. 10% match requirement. Of that 10% match, the town itself, as the applicant, was responsible for 5% of that 10%. And so originally we were looking at a $10 million project. It was early in the estimates. The town was going to be responsible for 5% of the 10% match. So the 10% match at the time was $1 million. Town was going to be responsible for 5% of that, so $50,000. So after those initial discussions, had several more meetings, found out they were incorrect. The town of Evansville, they have different classifications of towns and cities throughout the state. The town of Evansville actually falls into the classification for 20% match. So now we're talking about a 20% match on the project. The estimates as they are right now, and there's a map in your packet that shows the proposed areas of improvement, and it's actually gotten quite a bit larger than what we had originally talked about. It's the reconstruction of Wildcat and Mystery Bridge Road. So extended water line up Wildcat, looping it down, extended sewer up Mystery Bridge Road and down the rest of Wildcat, and then an extension of Mystery Bridge Road, an extension of Wildcat Road, and a new road tied to the highway. So the total cost of the estimated improvements now, it's in my report. Yeah, just over $11 million. There it is, okay. So $11,205,891.46. So that's the estimated total cost of the project now. So now we're talking about a 20% match on that. And so that the match for that is roughly I don't have those exact numbers because actually I do too. So it's $2,241,178.29. So now the total match at 20% is $2,200,000 roughly. Of that 2.2 million, the land donation for the right of way gets to be considered, and so that number ends up being $754,000. So that gets taken out of that match requirement. On top of that, the developers and the Mesa Solutions, the project owner, have committed to $1,154,879 in cash that they would contribute to the project. Advanced Casper, it's our local area economic development organization, has committed a $50,000. Not fully committed, but it's been discussed with their board that they're talking about a $50,000 match. So bottom line is what I'm trying to get at tonight is I'd originally told you the town was responsible for a $50,000 match. Now it's coming in at $112,058.91 to meet the 5% that's required by the applicant. So I did in my packet, I kind of talked about that a little bit on how that would happen. So it's not like you've got to, if the grant is awarded in December, you have to come up with $112,000. That's not the way it would work. It would be that the project, if the grant's awarded, the project would start, which means design would be done and then construction following that. And every time there's either a design invoice or a contractor's invoice, every time there's an invoice submitted to the town would have to pay that in full. And then they would get reimbursed from the state for 80% of that. They'd get reimbursed from the developers for their share, and what's left is what the town's responsible for, and it's 1.1% of every invoice. So I think in my example, I said if it's a 300, just wanted you to understand kind of how that would work. So if it's a $350,000 invoice from a contractor, the town has to pay that initial $350,000, but they'll get reimbursed by all the entities. Town would be responsible for $3,850 of that $350,000 invoice. And so that would occur over the life of the project. And the size of this project, I'm estimating, I don't know, could be 1.5 to 2 year long project of construction season. So I just wanted to make you aware of how that match would work or could work. There is other options. The business council does have a loan program the town could borrow. They can't borrow the full amount, but they can borrow 50% of that match. I don't know that's entirely up to you guys. I don't know if that really makes sense on that type of dollar number when it's coming out over time. I think it could be budgeted for. But I thought it was a short story, but it ended up being a long story. So I think that's where I'm at. So I'm open to any questions, because I probably created several.
Can we take a nap now or? I just got one quick one. I want to make sure my math is right. So basically, if we say this is a 24-month project, okay, and just using what I call cowboy math. So if we take the 112,000 that ballpark that we're responsible for, we're looking at about $5,000 a month, give or take a few bucks, right? Am I correct on that math?
I think so. I can check. But it sounds right. Or close.
See, real cowboys do that in their head. Might not be right, but we do it in our
Engineers
head.
don't. We use calculators. I come up with $4,670.
Okay. Cowboy math, 5,000.
Yep.
Okay.
But that would be, I mean, some months might be low, more than that, some months. higher.
Right, but I mean, if we are looking at it, that basically, if you had to ballpark the thing, we're probably gonna have to look at, if we don't spend it 1 month, we gotta spend it the next month. Correct?
Yep. So I guess I'm looking forward, we got direction and actual motion a couple, 2 or 3 months ago to move forward with the grant application, but you guys were responsible for 50,000. I'm looking for direction to move forward with the grant application, knowing that it could be 112,000 at this point.
So one question I have, Fred, and just because I don't know, I'm trying to understand. When you pay those, do you notice that, does it take a while to get the return back, or do they usually, are we out 120 plus days on that?
I'd say usually 30 to 45.
Yeah.
Sometimes sooner.
Okay.
It's the same process that we're doing with all of our grants. It used to be that you would submit the invoices, the grant agencies would pay you, then you would pay the contractor. And every one of the grant agencies now is a reimbursement program where you have to pay the invoice. So.
Thank you.
Question. At 112,000 through a 24-month time period, it would just be in one budget cycle for the town. It would be split between two. So by
Maybe
cowboy
3.
math, it would be roughly, or even 3. That would split the burden up on the town to actually be lesser per budget cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is it 112 now or 100?
What's that?
Was the town match 100 or 112?
112,000.
Okay. I didn't hear that part. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say is that I've sat in a good portion of these meetings with Mr. Porter, and that was one of the conversations that him and I had was us, at least on the town side, getting extremely clear with what our match is going to be, so that there's not continual changes within that match coming back to us, so that it's not going from 50 to 112,000 to now we're looking at a different number. And I know that Mr. Porter has worked diligently and extremely hard at trying to make sure that we have real-time updated information as this goes along. And I would at least like for us to at least consider that this is an $11 million project. This is a large project with a lot of people that are involved in it right now. And so I would have to say that we're pretty clear that that's our match number, that's the direction that we have to go in.
And that part doesn't really concern me. But I think one thing we need to keep in mind is what some government agencies call the economic impact of this on us in the future. For employees, for construction, all of that stuff is going to be probably paid back in revenue to the town. So I guess the 112,000 doesn't really bother me, because I think we gain on the other end. It might not all show up the first 2 years, but over a period of time it will. And I know some of us have had conversations about Evansville, that we need to grow a little bit. And this is part of how you get that done.
And I'll just add, I mean, it's a competitive grant application, and it will get scrutinized by the Wyoming Business Council and then by the 5 elected officials, the governor, the secretary of state, the superintendent of public construction, I don't remember the other 2, but, so it goes to the highest level for approvals, and they have to see the benefit of it for them to even want to put the money forward. So, I don't know, we're gonna give it our best effort to try to get this grant, and, we're gonna take a lot of work, and Candace and I will probably be in Cheyenne, and Tiffany might be as well. So Tiffany is involved with the project as part of the landowner on some of the roads where the roads would go.
Okay, so is there something we need to do?
Yeah. Do we need a motion?
I think we do, because we did the last time for
Okay.
for a 50,000.
You wanna read it out?
So do I have a motion for the engineer's report for Mesa Solutions for the
I'll
match
move-
being
I'll move.
112?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Sure.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Aye.
Okay, the next thing I had was on the new park project. We talked last time and issued the notice of award to the contractor. Tonight, I have the actual contracts. The contractor has signed and provided those back with the required insurance bonds, insurance and performance and payment bonds. I also have a notice to proceed to execute tonight, and a joint account agreement. So the joint account agreement is actually for the retainage that I always talk about, that we withhold retainage from each payment. The state statute actually allows the contractor an opportunity to enter into a joint account. So the contractor would set up an account. In this instance, they've chosen Jonah Bank. The town is a signer on the account, and the contractor is a signer on the account, but it gives just one place for that retainage to be placed. Most of the time, we actually see that the statute allows the contractor to waive the joint account requirement. Most of the time they do, because it is more paperwork. We haven't done one in several years, actually.
It's been a long time.
But the contractor for this project has chosen to do that joint account, so it's just an agreement that has to be signed, that we're on the account, and when we make payment to the contractor, we'll pay the 90%, and the 10% will be put in this other account that are in both names. They can't get to until we sign off on it too. So it's the same process. I mean, when we consider the project complete, we will then give the go-ahead for Jonah Bank to release the funds to the contractor, but we won't do that until we've accepted the project. So I just need to recommend a motion to have the mayor sign the agreement with Installation of Services Company, the notice to proceed, as well as the joint account agreement.
I'll
Go ahead.
motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I tried to get my seconds in a couple
Motion
times.
passes.
Okay, then the last thing I have is on the dog kennel project. So I actually advertised this morning for proposals. I have proposals due back on that building by June 14th. So right after our next council meeting, I guess, the way it worked out. But so basically 2 weeks, we're supposed to have proposals on that dog kennel building. So right now, there's only one plant holder, the company that we have talked to. I don't know if there'll be other responses to that RFP or not.
So will that be in this year's budget or next year's?
Next year's.
Okay. And we have a line item for it?
We'll have to check with Lexi.
Okay.
Because that'll be a one-time,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be a capital.
okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
You just need a motion to approve this report.
Do I have a motion to approve the engineer's report?
I motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, public comments. Do I have public comments? Any public comments out there? Last call, public comments.
We have the planting of the garden this coming Saturday at 8:00. Bring your shovel and gloves and protective sunwear.
As well as the town garage.
There's the town garage sale this Saturday as well.
Okay, so planting of the community garden in town garage sale.
Yep, we're
This
gonna
Saturday, 8 a.m.
very busy weekend for Evansville.
Wonderful. All right. Any other public comments? Last call? Okay, public comments closed. Adjournment at 7:59.
motion to adjourn
A motion, yes. Do I have a second motion?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Janelle. All right, adjournment at 8:00 PM on May 28th, 2024.
Janelle, just hit the green button. Buttons.